And here we go. Welcome to a new season of the Huddle, our third overall. And this is our 50th episode already through 2.5 seasons, basically. I'm your host, Ed Tait of BlueBombers.com. As per usual, we're here live in our fancy schmancy stadium here in Princess Auto Stadium. We're live on the Blue Bombers YouTube page, as we are normally during the season Tuesdays. We'll be periodic here in the off season. We've got a very special edition of the Huddle this week. It's our free agency special, and we're going to be joined in a few minutes by Derek Taylor of CJOB, the voice of the Bombers on CJOB, where we'll look at what the Bombers have done and go around the rest of the Canadian Football League to talk about what's been done so far on the first official day of CFL free agency. But we're very, very pleased to be joined today by one of the big additions for the Blue Bombers, new defensive lineman, Jake Ceresna, last with the Edmonton Elks. Jake, appreciate you joining me. Got to do this awkward fist bump thing here. We're going to do our regular thing, too, where we give away a jersey like we normally do. We'll have questions for fans at the end when DT and I are on to talk about what's going on around the rest of the league. But as we always do when we start the show off, we start with the Coors Light Chill Chat. So this is where I got to do the fancy schmancy read, too, to go along with the fancy schmancy studio. Welcome to the Coors Light Chill Chat, proudly brought to you by Coors Light, the official beer and the chill choice of the Blue Bombers. So, Jake Ceresna, you got here yesterday.
Yep.
Just talk about getting off the plane and knowing that you're now officially a Blue Bomber and landed in Winnipeg, where you're going to be calling home for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. I think it really hit me when I got to the stadium today, just going on a tour, seeing the locker room, seeing the meeting rooms, seeing the stadium. And I got a lift in this morning, too. Saw some of the guys in there, and it's been great. I mean, I'm pumped up. I'm juiced up about it, and it's exciting to me. And, I can't wait for the season to get here.
I talk to a lot of guys when they change teams, and it seems like a lot of them say it's like when you change schools. There's that kind of excitement. You get to meet all the new kids and all that kind of stuff. Is there a little bit of that, too? Like you wouldn't be coming here if you didn't embrace change a little bit. So there's an excitement sometimes that change brings.
Absolutely. And you're kind of like the new kid on the block, trying to discover everything's new. You're living in a new place, you're in a new city, new teammates. Some of them you might have played with before, but the majority are new. So it's kind of a cool situation to be in, and it only happens to you a couple of times in your career if you're lucky. So, just embrace being the new guy and seeing how everything operates and works, and I'm just excited about it.
This is weird, too, because you got to shake a lot of hands when there's a lot of people in this room, there's a lot of people in this building. It's like, okay, there's a lot of people to meet. So it can be a bit overwhelming, or can it? Is it?
Yeah, well, the hardest part is just remembering names, I came in here and I forgot your name, Ed.
Yeah.
Until you said, "Hey, I'm Ed," blah blah blah, and I was like, "Okay, Ed, that's his name." So that's the hardest part is the name game, and I'm trying to get better with it.
Yeah. What brings you to Winnipeg? You mentioned you did a media conference earlier today. That part of it is just the logistics of getting a work permit too, right?
Today, yeah. Why I came up here, yeah. Just the team flew me up to get my work permit situated, and I guess to do some media stuff as well. So that's really the main reason.
Yeah. Did you start looking for a place to live and all that already?
I think I'm going to have to start looking online in these next couple of months. And I kind of like to get up to I'm hoping to be here in Winnipeg a month before the season, get settled in, get ready to roll, and, just getting that routine of going to the stadium every day. And that's kind of what I've done in past years, and I've had a lot of success with it.
Yeah. You in your press conference earlier, you talked about this, so some of the questions are going to be redundant for you, but the people that are tuning in haven't heard this yet. So the free agency legal tampering period, which is a stupid name, but they started it last couple of years ago, when it allows teams to speak to free agents and their agents before the official window opens today. So, I mean, it was reported last Sunday, the 2nd, that you were coming here. What made Winnipeg the right choice for you?
I think, first of all, that Winnipeg wanted me. That was the big one. And then it really came down to two teams. It became a two-team race kind of pretty clearly when the window opened. And, this might not have been the highest offer I got, but I just felt like this was a better fit for me. And I want to win, and I want to win now. So I think that the roster's set up that way. And I think that the core of this group is great here. And it's just a great city to play for too. And, you know, having a sold out crowd and having the offense have to go on silent count helps too.
You mentioned earlier about the number of guys that reach out too. Maybe you can rattle off the names of the guys that called you too, because that's a big part of being kind of wooed by an organization is who's on the phone saying, hey, you got to come here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Zach Calero, Stanley Bryant, Brady Oliveira, Diedrich Nichols, Patty Newfield, a bunch of other guys that I'm even forgetting right now off the top of my head. But when, you know, a lot of guys from the organization are reaching out and telling you, hey, like, you know, we really like you. We really want you to come here. You know, we're building something special. You know, it means a lot. And especially when it comes from the players, you know, because you don't really see that typically in free agency. So it was cool to see. And, you know, I don't want to say it swayed my decision because at the end of the day, it was my decision to make, but it definitely was a great feeling.
Yeah, it's interesting because you brought this up earlier too about the number of guys that have been here for a while. And in this league, with it being so nomadic with guys bopping all over the place, you mentioned Stanley Bryant. He's been here since 2015. Jake Thomas, your new D-line coach, was the longest-serving Bomber until he retired, and now he's a coach. But even Diedrich Nichols, who I think is a newcomer, or Zach, they've been here since 2019. So 2021, like that's in this league, that's a long time. And that probably is part of the appeal too, isn't it?
Absolutely. I always wanted to be a one-team guy, and now here I am on my fourth team. But
Yeah.
doesn't always work out how you got plans, you know. But yeah, it's great that, you know, there's a core group of guys here that have been here for a long time and have been very successful. I mean, you went to 5 straight Grey Cups, you won 2, and you know they're talking about. I said this in the interview, but they're talking about, oh, last year was a down year, but you went 10-8, you know, and I came from places where 10-8 would be a great year,
Right.
So it's just a place that you want to play, and when you see guys stay at one place for a long period of time throughout their career, you know that that the organization is in a great spot and they're doing something right. And you just want to be part of that, you know?
Yeah. Even the football management side. I mean, the GM and the head coach have been here for a while. Have you had a chance to talk to Coach O'Shea yet?
Oh, yeah. We got dinner last night, so.
Oh, okay.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. You seem like a Mike O'Shea kind of guy.
Do
right?
I?
Like he's kind of like, you got a bit of old school to you, right? And you're just a lunch pail and hard hat kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I pride myself on just being a hardworking guy, you know? I think that's one of the things is if I'm going to get beat by somebody else, it's not because they worked harder than me. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to show up. I'm going to, you know, do my due diligence. And if I lose, it's because they're just had more talent than me, you know, and chalk it up to that. But it's not going to be because they outworked me.
The idea of lining up on a D line with Willie Jefferson on the other side potentially. I know you can play D tackle too, but that's interesting too, right? Because he does. He only had 3 sacks last year, but there's so many times you see he's double teamed or getting that extra attention. So that can be a bonus for the guy on the other side.
Absolutely. I mean, for years it was, you know, Willie Jefferson and Jackson Jeffco here, and they were a crazy 1-2 combo. So just to be able to play with a guy of that caliber, it just makes it easier for the whole defensive line to go and get after it. So, you know, hopefully I could take pressure off him and he could take pressure off me, and we could both be successful. And, you know, with Willie, you know, sacks aren't the whole story. You know, he's still getting pressure on the quarterback. He's still batting balls down. So he's a great player, and I'm just excited to play with the guy. I know, you know, he's a special talent, Hall of Famer in my book, and I think everyone else's book.
Yeah, right.
So I'm super excited for it.
You said something today too that was interesting, in that, I mean, you're 31 years old and you're still learning, right? And so being able to practice against a Stanley Bryant or Pat Neufeld and Willie Jefferson, Jake Thomas, those guys, it might be just one little nugget you can get at a practice one day that all of a sudden you take that into the game and leads to a sack.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you always got to keep that learning mindset. I mean, I'll even learn things from rookies coming in, you know, guys younger than you. And I think that's, you know, when you think you have it all figured out and when you think you know everything, that's when you get in trouble, I think. You know, you got to keep that learning mindset. You got to keep, you know, anything you could pick up from anybody else and just be like a sponge and be able to absorb it. So, I mean, playing, you know, to be able to practice against those guys every day, I'm sure this season is going to pay off for me.
Yeah. Last year, I had never heard of this before, but I saw initially that you had a meniscus tear, but then it was called a bucket handle meniscus tear. What the heck does that even mean?
Yeah, I mean, it was new to me too. Pretty much your meniscus flips over itself and then gets stuck. And then it's pretty painful, and you like your knee stays bent and you can't put any weight on it.
Okay.
So it can unstick too. So mine was flipping over and then it would unflip after a couple minutes. But each time would stay stuck longer and longer till Labor Day. I was playing and it got stuck and kind of permanently stuck where I had to get surgery to get it fixed. So
wait a minute, you can actually feel it doing that thing when it's.
yeah, it feels like your knee's popping out. So
Really?
I thought my knee was popping out because like your knee gets stuck, but it's just your meniscus flipping over, and yeah, it's not it's not the best feeling in the world.
Geez, when I get slammed my hand on the door, I can milk that for a while. So I can't imagine that man, that must have hurt. So you're good now though, right?
Yeah, great. Now I had surgery, got it repaired. I chose to get it repaired over getting a trim because I wanted to keep my meniscus intact, keep my knee strong and healthy, and I was going to miss the season anyway. So way better outcomes with getting the repair done. It was just a longer rehab process. So, but now I'm running, I'm lifting, I'm doing everything.
Yeah, when I saw you the first time this morning, you were already doing your first workout in the Bomber colors, eh?
Yeah. I wanted to get into the gym, get to the weights right away.
Yeah. You've mentioned a couple times about the culture here. Not you're getting it. This is the first day in it, but from afar, what was it? What did it look like from afar? What made it intriguing?
I guess the guys staying here, guys staying here for a long time, and then kind of like a family aspect you see from the outside looking in. I mean, I don't know everything about the culture, but I know it's good because guys are staying here, and there's a big family dynamic that I feel like from the outside looking in I can see here, and just from what my new teammates have been telling me. So I'm excited for it, and I'm just trying to fit into where I belong and find my place.
I asked you this earlier today, but when you have been traded twice, when you've been on Ottawa, a couple times with Edmonton and with Toronto, that's got to be part of the appeal as you get into your 30s, right? Is I want to go somewhere where, I'm going to hang my hat here for a little bit and not, that's probably part of your decision, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like a long-term decision. I try to make all my decisions long-term decisions, but it doesn't always work out
Sometimes
that way.
not.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Like I'm gonna be here, but yeah, it's just an organization that you want to be in for a long time, and I just hope it. A lot of things got to go right for it to work out, but I'm hoping it goes right, and as long as I continue to be a great player, I think it will.
Yeah. What have you got to do for the next little bit of your visit here?
This is it. This is the highlight right now.
All right, I like how you said that.
I'm on the podcast.
Back to the injury and feeling good right now. Again, part of the motivation, right? I imagine you would like it if training camp started tomorrow. You'd be ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you're hurt, I just had a disappointing season, and it just got, just lit a fire under me, and it's got me more motivated than ever. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's what I needed, but it just got me ready to go for this season and just ready to kill it, figuratively speaking. So,
well, that's good. Literally, kill it too would be good.
Yeah,
go get some guys. I love it. Go get some guys. Hey, well, listen. I know it's been a whirlwind for you, Jake. So I appreciate you popping in here and doing this for us, and it's a chance for Bomber fans to get to know you a little bit better. Can we sign you up to do a full show when the season starts?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Right on. Appreciate you very much. What we're going to do now, we're going to bring on Derek Taylor from CJOB in a couple of minutes, but let's go to a commercial break now, right? Smart. From Coors Light, the official beer and chill choice of the Blue Bombers.
There's regular cold.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
And then there's the mountains are blue.
Thank
cold.
you guys.
Mountain cold refreshment. Coors Light, the chill choice.
Okay, we're back already. I appreciate Jake Ceresna dropping in like that. These days can be crazy for guys. Derek Taylor, who joins us now, can tell you that those guys, it's like a whirlwind tour sometimes. I'm sure he's upstairs meeting the administrative staff. I'm sure he's working through the store. He's probably signed autographs when he got here, and when he was out for dinner with Mike O'Shea. You know, Mike O'Shea's well known in this town. I'm sure there were a few people wondering who's over there with Mike O'Shea and looking him up and taking his picture. So it was cool that he dropped in here. So before we made the Jake Ceresna signing official, DT and I were going to sit down and decided we were going to do a free agency special. So I appreciate you hanging out here for a bit, DT, and we can get back to the regular script that you and I were talking about before we made Jake official.
Before we begin,
Yes.
Jake Ceresna is a great player and all. Who would you guess has eaten more Hershey's Eggies in the last 3 days, me or Jake Ceresna? I didn't ask him before he left.
Well, before we went on the air, he talked about protein.
Yeah, so probably not many.
How much protein are in those Hershey's Eggies or whatever?
That's milk chocolate. So,
Okay, well, listen, I appreciate you. This Derek Taylor, CJOB, the voice of the Blue Bombers on CJOB. I kind of went on a little mini rant there for a second, DT, about how free agency works and the legal tampering period, which is nuts because February 2nd, when the window first opened, there were a lot of these reported signings, so it already feels a bit old. But this is a real good chance for us to kind of get caught up on what the Bombers have done, and maybe we'll look around the league at some of the other things that have happened because mid-February in the Canadian Football League is kind of fun for all kinds of different reasons, right? Because it gives us something to talk about. The club has already made official today that Jarrell Broxton, the big offensive tackle, has joined the team. Tommy Neal, the Canadian receiver, has signed too. He was with Saskatchewan last year, won a Grey Cup here in this backyard, unfortunately.
I have no memory of that whatsoever.
Yeah.
None.
And Jonathan Moxey from the Hamilton Tiger Cats, veteran corner, has signed on. Also, Javon Santos Knox was a bit of a surprise to me that he was added today too, but a veteran linebacker, had a really good year last year in Ottawa. I'm surprised that he was sort of on the market, but there's a regime change in Ottawa. We should also mention that Tim White was signed at the end of January, so that's another big one. We'll get to each player individually and what they bring in a bit here, DT, but I'm not sure what the Bombers might still have up their sleeve, but first impressions on their overall haul so far.
One, I think it's great. Two, it's a real pivot from how they've done the last little while. I have depth charts back to 2016 because they get pretty sketchy after that. And what you saw was this is a team that went with young guys at American defensive tackle, right? You can think of them in your name. Okay, well, last year it was Jamal Woods, and before Jamal Woods, it was Ricky Walker, and it was Casey Sales, and it was Stove Richardson. And you start to get back to Euclid Cummings for the last time they had a guy who was outside his first contract. Drake Nevis is in there as well. Drake was, but it's been a lot of, presumably low. I mean, it's low salary. It's rookie salary guys at that spot. And this time they said, you know what? No, Jake Ceresna, because he's a monster. He gives us the flexibility we need. We've seen him do it. It's not we're hypothesizing he can play in this Jordan Younger likes to put 3 defensive linemen out there system. They saw him do it in Edmonton in 2023 and 2022. So you go, okay, well, he can be inside, he can be outside. Willie, hey, we can line him up inside sometimes. Hey, who's the other defensive end? Is it Jaworski? Will it be Kadron Jenkins? Both those guys got a chance in that final regular season game. We have our Canadians locked down. I mean, goodness, Cameron Lawson is the one I'm trying to think of off the top of my head, but Tanner Schmeckel as well and Cornelson. Yep. There's a lot of flexibility for what Jordan Younger wants to do with Michael Griffin is healthy. Oh, how good did Jaden Woodby look in those late season? He played virtually all the snaps in that playoff game. Like Ceresna, to me, is just the perfect guy to give them the flexibility that Jordan Younger uses so well to mess with opposing offenses. Yeah. I love the thought of Ceresna playing in there.
At the end of the year, at the end of 2025, if you had gone into if Kyle Walters had invited you into the meeting room with the personnel people and said, what do we need to fix? I'm sure you, like a lot of people said, we got to get better at the line of scrimmage. So you've got Broxton and Ceresna. What would you have said about what would have been the case to go get a White and a Neal for the receiving core?
Yeah, I think by the time the season ended, that in that playoff game, you saw what was probably in my mind, the 8th or 9th best receiving core in the league, right? Edmonton was not overloaded with talent by the end of the season, and Winnipeg just went, who's the game breaker? And obviously, hey, there was hope it was going to be Dalton Schoen. It didn't work out. Dembski was out of that game. They really had to go deep down the depth chart to get that. Pokey had been back in the CFL, but it hadn't been an entire season of Pokey Wilson with training camp and everything. So you go and you get Tim White and you go, okay, well, there's Pokey Wilson, Tim White. I presume that's the boundary duo. That's a very good place to start because, oh, by the way, Nick Dembski is still there. Tommy Neal, to me, is super interesting. A guy with over 500 yards last year, of course, had the game-winning touchdown in the Western semifinal. Western final, against BC.
Yep.
Neal and Dembski kind of play the same position. At least that's where Neal was deployed in Saskatchewan. You go, okay, well, one of the Neal can bump out to that next slot back spot. And would they put 3 Canadians in the receiving core? And would that affect what they could do on the offensive line or cover them in case of injuries? And would they put 3 Canadians in the offensive line and affect what they can do in receiving core? To me, the Neal signing gives them extra flexibility in how they deploy the ratio. Whatever Tommy Condell, the new offensive coordinator, figures out in camp is the best way to go. To me, it looks like they've got the personnel to do it. This trend of 3 American offensive linemen. Oh, well, hey, we've got Jarrell Broxton and Kendall Randolph started every game last year. And oh, by the way, Micah Vanderpool, how good did he look in multiple spots last year? Oh, Stanley Bryan is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Oh, by the way, Tyler Ellsbury is back. There are a lot of options for Tommy Condell. Whatever the Bombers decide is the best way to do, seems like the personnel department has given the coaching staff options to do it.
Yeah, it's you just an overall big picture thing. You compare what Winnipeg did this year in free agency compared to last year. It seems last year was a bit reactionary, I would say, right? The Kenny Lawler was gone, and they knew that Liam Dobson was going to go, and the late great Ted Gavaya was taking a lot of those guys to Hamilton, and so they were reacting to how they were getting hit. And this one, it feels like, hey, let's throw the first punch a little bit here.
Yeah.
And that's what's really intrigued me about this is it's not just, it's really addressed some needs.
Yeah, and I mentioned the Ceresna one, kind of a change, what seems like a change of philosophy. The same for the Moxie signing, right?
Yep.
Think of the guys who have played corner for the Bombers, like as much as DeMario Houston was a guy on, not his first contract. He was a free agent on the market, how Taekwon Glass a couple years ago was a free agent on the market. They've traditionally said we can find young Americans to fill those spots. And when you think of it, apart from Winston Rose, since the pandemic, it's been a bunch of very young and first contract guys. Jonathan Moxie comes in with 7. This will be his 7th year in the CFL. Okay, well, there's a guy that you sign, I assume, believing, he's going to get what we do. And then, there aren't going to be questions about it.
Yep.
So Moxie's going to get it. Does he play with Dietrich? Does he play with Evan Holm? Whatever it is, you go, okay, it's just super interesting to watch this year, whatever it's a reaction to, just be different for how they approach free agency. Last year was bring in James Vaughters and Peyton Logan and Jonathan Jones and guys. I went, oh, these are actually good signings.
Yep.
Didn't turn out to be that way apart from Vaughters, but this is just feels like a philosophical pivot for whatever reason.
Yeah. Let's just, maybe what we'll do here is we'll kind of run through the list of guys that are here, because I think one of the things that we forget about free agency, it's not just who you get when the negotiating window opens up until through free agency that's officially started today. It's who you sign before the window, right? And
October and December,
exactly. Those are the big months for
November, December, right?
November, December, January, yeah. So since the end of the season, and when the season ended, Winnipeg had 35 pending free agents, right? So everybody freaks out, but every team across the league has got a big list. But just a recap here. Here's who they've re-signed since the end of the season. Brady Oliveira, he's kind of good. He's a good player, right?
3-year deal, big deal.
Nick Dembski, you mentioned. On the defensive backfield, Evan Holm, Dietrich Nichols, Retta Cramdy, Michael Griffin II. D-line, Cam Lawson, Willie Jefferson, Tanner Schmeckel. O-line, Stanley Bryant, Pat Neufeld, Tui, Sergio, punter, Jamison Sheehan, Kyrie Wilson, Tanner Cadwallader, Gavin Cobb. that's a pretty impressive list. Of that group, who jumps out to you as maybe a sneaky good signing? Because we know Brady and Nick are important, but is there anybody else on that list that you think, yeah, they needed this guy back?
I just think being able to ensure when you talk to Jordan Younger and we talk to the coaching staff, they talk about kind of the interior of that defensive backfield. There's the front six and there's the back six, right? So the interior is the safety, the two halfbacks, and the dime. To get all four of those guys back, presuming Cam Allen's going to be the safety as he finished off the season as a safety, to have all four of those guys back and to be veterans and to have spent, they've been around as long as Jordan Younger's been around, so they know what's going on. So, hey, Evan's got to communicate with a new guy. Well, it's nothing new for him. Okay, well, that'll be pretty great. To have all four of those guys back, to me, was the biggest part and the one I was probably rooting for the most kind of as a fan, because I mean, this has been the number one defense for the last couple of years in opponent points allowed, like opponent offensive points allowed. Special teams points aren't factoring into that one. So I think to me, those were the big ones. Like they're loaded across the defense with quality players. So, but to me, getting those four back for what they want to do were the biggest part. Because just think of the games that you listen to, of course, on CJOB. But
I like it.
Cam Allen's here. Okay, well now Reddick Cramdy appears to be here at safety. Oh, Dietrich Nichols looks like he's at safety on this play. Everybody is everywhere, and having the guys who can pull that off and communicate that to the rest of the team, I think are incredibly valuable. And to me, that's such a huge deal.
It's interesting, too, because I forgot Gavin Cobb's re-signed, too.
Yep.
You look at that list, and some of them are stars, right? You need to get your stars back. But, I mean, you're a big Sergio Castillo fan. That's an important signing because of the weapon he is. I think that I'm not convinced that the new rule changes are going to lead to all these touchdowns right away. Jamison Sheehan could be a really important part as a really good directional punter. There might not be those long field goal attempts now with the goalposts further back down the road.
In 27,
in 27. Maybe Jamison Sheehan's an important guy because he can pin teams deep rather than trotting a guy out at the opponent's 45-yard line.
And that's the thing to watch. And just when you talk to Jamison Sheehan, he says, I've probably shown you 30% of what I could do.
Yeah.
Right. And in 2027, it's not for this year. This year is just, the bench changes and the rouge change.
Yep.
But when you're sitting on the opponent's 35-yard line and going, we're not in a position to kick a 57-yard field goal. Okay. Are you going to go for it's 3rd and 13 from their 35.
That's the other part.
Jammer, get out there and pin them deep. Or my prediction, go out there and do some onside punt stuff that we've been working on, because you could punt the ball away, or you could punt it and send Ethan Ball to go try and get it back. Right? Like go get it. So 2027 to me is going to be a fantastic year for special teams coaches, and Jammer would be one of the punters I would absolutely want.
Yeah. So while I rattled off all those names, we should also talk about some of the guys that have left since the end of the year, because that's part of free agency too. So Chris Kolinkowski was released. He's already signed in Hamilton. Eric Lofton.
Instantly in Hamilton, yeah.
Instantly. Eric Lofton signed in Hamilton, played a lot of right tackle for this team in the last few years. Jamal Parker was released around Christmas. He's a free agent. James Vaughters is going to Saskatchewan.
Officially with Sask now, yep.
Jarrett Stearns, Montreal. Has that been officially reported yet?
I haven't seen that be official. I wanted him back so bad. He sacrificed. Oh!
Yeah. Demiro Houston, Ottawa has announced that. Then you've got guys like Shane Gauthier, Nick Hallett, Dexter Lawson, Dylan Mitchell, Carrick Wheatfall, Dalton Schoen, Chris Streveler. Those last two ones, that kind of hurts me a little bit because those guys have been such loyal Bombers, but both coming off knee injuries. And then there's been other changes too, right? We forget that so much has happened since the last game. New offensive coordinator in Tommy Condell. Jake Thomas, so there's a lot that's happened already since the end of November.
Yeah.
And here we are, February 10th. Still a lot to go. Anything jump out at you there on that list of guys that have left? You mentioned Stearns, but...
Yeah, Stearns to me was just... He and Zach seem to get each other. And watching Stearns, who... I'm a normal-sized human being. When I'm bigger than football players, you kind of take notice. You go, oh, you could actually probably bench 8 times what I bench, but I'm still taller than you, so I feel like a man. Stearns was not a big guy, but I just won't forget. He's was it boundary side? He's running a little in route, and he gets way up in the air, and he knows Wynton McManus of the Argos is right there and is going to rib him beyond, like, just.
That was the game in Toronto.
Yeah, absolutely. Just into the rib cage. Like, okay, but I'm going to try my best to catch this football. Like, Stearns appeared to not care much about his body in order to help his team. So
right.
I love Jared Stearns. I think Montreal, the way he fits in Montreal is going to be very good for the favorites in the East. Nick Hallett still free. Nick, every year you go back and go, I remember 2 plays that Nick Hallett made that absolutely turned the tide of the game, or took a win from likely to incredibly, it's going to happen, right? Labor Days of touchdowns and stuff, and go,
I
need some Nick Hallett back in my life.
The same thing with Shane Gauthier in that play in the 2019 Western Final when he tried on the.
Craig Dickinson thought he had him, right?
Yeah. Saved that. Mike O'Shea said that's the greatest special teams tackle he's ever seen, because he ran from the opposite side of the field to pull down the returner before he scored.
The late punt, and Nick Marshall is back to return it. And everybody thinks it's going left, but it's going to the right, and Nick Marshall thinks he's going to the house. Except for Shane Gauthier making that tackle, and maybe partly because Darvin Adams sent him on 2 go routes on the previous drive, and Nick's like, I was a little tired, but that was such a massive play in the history of the Bombers, and I mean that sets off 5 years of great success.
Let's we'll get into let's break down the new additions a little bit more in detail in a minute here, but maybe Sam, we should do the jersey giveaway plug here. Absolutely. Sam over here in the corner here, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Gallagher.
Hi there. I'm filling in for Josh today. He's currently finding himself in Europe, so he's unavailable. But yeah, jersey giveaway. I'm going to throw the link in the chat. All you got to do is fill that out with your name and email, and you'll have a chance to win a Ceresna jersey, one of the first of its kind, I would imagine. You have to be able to pick it up from the store, but fill that out, and then we'll contact you via email if you win. And just make sure to leave your questions in the chat for Derek and Ed. We'll answer them at the end of the show. Back to you, Ed.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate doing that.
Is Ceresna going to be 94 here too?
Yes.
Do we know that for sure?
We do know.
Oh, very good.
I saw him signing number 4s over there. So they're going to sew that on beside the 9, I'm assuming, on the jersey. So, yeah. That's a good to get the Jake Ceresna jersey going.
Like, people, if you haven't
what
seen...
What are you laughing at over there? Okay.
If you haven't seen Jake Ceresna play a bunch, or you don't remember him, you're going to love him very quickly. And hopefully 6 years from now, we're talking about old man Ceresna still killing it on the defensive line because he wants to have found a home.
Well, that's what he seemed to talk about in our little chat beforehand. The guy's bounced around. I'm surprised a guy that has been that good in this league has been traded twice and been on 4 teams.
Well, it was the Edmonton to Toronto to get an elite Canadian receiver at the time. And he said, I kind of want to go back to Edmonton because I liked it there. And now I like what I think and what is going to happen in Winnipeg.
You know, the other trade, when he was traded from Ottawa to Edmonton, it was for Odell Willis, which seems like, really? Odell Willis was in the league that late? Because Odell started here. I love Odell, but that's a guy, an up-and-comer guy for a veteran guy that was on the back 9 tapping out on the 18th hole of his career. So that was a good trade for Edmonton back in the day.
Oh, we could go down the rabbit hole of the first time when I saw Ceresna playing next to Zach Evans in that Ottawa lineup going, look at these two.
We'll get into him in a second. Let's start with Broxton because, again, some of these announcements came on February 2nd, which in the CFL timeline seems like forever ago. But Broxton, a lot of people, especially in Vancouver, thought he was the best tackle in the league last year.
And got irate about him not being the best tackle in the league.
And that's no slight on Jamarcus Hardrick, but Broxton is a beast.
Yep.
And you've got Stanley Bryant at left tackle, future Hall of Famer. I mean, they might as well start working on the bust at the Hall of Fame already, right? They could start chiseling that thing for him. But what does Broxton bring? Because he's going to, from what I understand, he's going to move to the right side for now. This guy's a beast.
Yeah, so Broxton, interestingly, just before the pandemic, he signed with the Bombers.
That's right.
And then,
it's kind of weird.
Yeah, and you can't find the corresponding transaction where he was set free, but a lot of players were set free. He's 21. He signs with the BC Lions. He's played exclusively the left side. 5 of those games were at left guard. So, because they were trying to work him in there, but once he took over at left tackle, like it was over for everybody else. He's just a big dude, and I mean, good feet and smart. And the Bombers, you guys put out the PFF stats. He allowed 15 quarterback pressures last season, which is an absurdly low number for a tackle in the Canadian Football League. He played the right side in college, so he's got it's been a decade, but he's got some experience playing the right side, and it's one of these moves that you looked at and went, okay, I'm sure you have a plan for him. I'm sure you cleared it with him, but it gives you a ton of flexibility of, okay, well, Kendall Randolph used to be a guard, and Micah Vanderpool could play guard. Do you want to go 3 Americans as some teams are doing?
Yep.
You are more than set. And I've for years, Ed, I've been on. There are not a lot of top end tackles in the Canadian Football League. The NFL likes to keep top end tackles down there. So if you get one, like Stanley Bryant, you hold on to him like grim death, right? Like just do not ever let them go. Yeah. And the Bombers had a chance to get one who's only 32. And by the way, that means in Stanley Bryant's world, you have 8 more years to play.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like that is massive. And Broxton has earned the top salary. Like bring it on.
Yeah.
And Bomber fans will be very happy with that one.
He is he's just a beast, man. That's a huge compliment to an old lineman, right? What I like about, and you touched on it, is the flexibility. Now, I think that the Tommy Neal signing is related to this, and you touched on this a little bit ago, because there is the idea of maybe going with 3 Americans up front, and then Tommy Neal to me is a taller version of Jarrett Stearns. He's tough. He's 26 years old, and so
he's way younger than I thought,
and he's Canadian.
Yeah.
And what is he? Has he got 3 Grey Cup rings now? Because he's got 2 from Toronto and 1 from Saskatchewan.
Oh, wow,
He's 26 years old with 3 Grey Cup rings, so he's got a champion's pedigree. Let's talk a bit about Neal, since I just brought him up after you did earlier. The more you look into his numbers, the more appealing they become. You know, he had career numbers last year in Saskatchewan, but at the beginning of the year, he was on the injured list. He started their last 11 games and the playoff game. You mentioned that he had the winning touchdown in the West Final. He had really good numbers in the Grey Cup, too, a couple key catches. That's a quietly pretty good signing for what it can mean big picture for this team, too.
Yeah, I was pouring over depth charts, and in the last 3 years, I think, certainly the last 2, but it might be the last 3, he moved into the slot. You start guys out at that wide side, wide receiver spot, but moved into the slot. Okay, well, that gives us options in case. I think you probably want to keep him in the slot, working alongside Nick Dembski. But yeah, like he's a big dude, and I mean, a receiving core with Pokey Wilson at 6 foot, sub 200 pounds, Tim White at 5'9", sub 200 pounds. Nick Dembski is 5'10", but Nick's thick. So I forget what Nick officially is listed at, but it's over 200. You go, okay, well here, Tommy's a big guy. And okay, you want to ask Tommy to do some stuff in protection? I suspect that won't be a problem for Tommy Neal. And I was shocked. I'm like, he's 26? I think he turns 27 during the season, during camp, whatever it is. Like, that is really quite young for a guy with that much experience in the Canadian Football League. So, yeah, career highs in receptions, touchdowns, and receiving yards last season in not 18 games. Yep. Is this a guy on the way up?
And to build on what you were saying, too, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that other spot now because of the ratio and the flexibility that this roster seems to have. So with that other spot, you've got Kevin Sclarcius. If you want to go with 3 Canadians in your receiving core, Kevin Sclarcius, who started a ton of games, Joey Corcoran, who kind of took over for him at the end of last year.
Played the playoff game in his place,
Gavin Cobb, who looked pretty good in the game he had to fill in for Nick. You might draft a guy, too. Bombers have the 4th overall pick in the draft, and I have a lot of picks in the first 2 rounds. So, again, one of the things that really jumps out with all these moves is the flexibility that you have now with the ratio, because you don't get locked into, we got to play our Canadians in these 7 spots and that's all we can do. And if one of them goes down, you're kind of screwed. But
a team like Ottawa last year got punished in that, and they're like, the guy we want to start at running back, we can't start, and he can only play so many snaps. The Bombers have never kind of fallen into that, because they really have some Canadians that they absolutely are passionate about. But you start 2 on defense between Cam Lawson and Rhett Cramdy. Everybody else is American. generally the interior three plus Brady Oliveira. Okay, you can do anything you want. If you start 3 Canadians, that would be, if you start 3 linemen and Brady, that's already your 7 on offense. Well, okay, well now we can. Micah Vanterpool started 3 games last season. We could do that if we think Micah is the guy we want at guard. Okay, well, hey, we found the next Dalton Schoen in training camp. Okay, well, we can kick Tommy Neal out to the wide receiver spot, start this guy between him and Dembski. If Dembski misses a couple games, bam, Tommy could take his spot pretty quickly. To me, it's ratio flexibility in a couple of spots, and it's injury cover in a couple of spots, because it doesn't appear the Bombers will fall into the, oh gosh, we have to go get a guy off the street to play.
That's right.
Our 6th offensive lineman in this game because we had some bad luck at injury. It just seems super smart.
Yeah. We haven't talked. You a little bit mentioned Moxie, Jonathan Moxie, and importance of having a veteran out there. This team has been able to find defensive backs, and it's been able to. You mentioned receivers too, Dalton Schoen and Pokey Wilson, Carrick Weefall. Those are all guys that the scouting department have found over the last couple of years. It is interesting that they went and got a veteran corner, because they had to parachute into Mario Houston last year. But I was looking at this for a story I did a couple weeks ago. Think of the guys that started at corner last year for Winnipeg. The season started with Marquise Bridges.
Yep.
And Terrell Bonds.
2 interceptions in the first game, Marquise Bridges.
Right.
Yep.
And then, so they also had Demario Houston start games. Dexter Lawson Jr. started games at corners.
Was good, yeah.
Jamal Parker. So there's 6 different guys. Trey Vauvel. 6 different guys who started at corner last year, and only Vauvel is returning.
Yeah.
So for them to go out, it almost was a position of need. You can find another American guy, but to your point from earlier, to bring in a guy that he'll get Jordan Younger's playbook and says, yeah, okay, I got this, I got that, no problem. There's no learning on the fly with him with just 2 preseason games, right? That's a quietly good signing too.
Yeah, and just as I look at it, what if, hypothetical, what if Terrell Bonds is recovered from that knee injury he suffered in the Calgary game?
Yep.
Did Terrell Bonds and Dietrich Nichols look like they struggled playing together? I thought they looked pretty good. Terrell is a second contract guy. He's a free agent right now.
Yep.
And I don't know what his future is, but I think we'd all be pretty happy with that. But yeah, can I throw at you an Abu Darami Soiree, who started some games in 2023? Do you remember Desmond Lawrence started some games? Winston Rose, Demario Houston was a young guy. D. Alford, who was a pretty good, but he was in his rookie year.
Yep.
Mike Jones, Josh Miller. Like it's been a lot of young dudes to commit to a guy going into his 7th year who I never kind of understood why Calgary let him get to Hamilton after 4 seasons, but it's interesting to go, yeah, you know what, to me it feels like we're gonna lock down one of the corner spots because we can afford it under the cap, and we think this is the guy. Bombers are, as you mentioned, are pretty good at finding the guy and talent, across the league or in free agency. So to say this is one, and we'll figure out the other one come camp, or maybe they have a plan for it already that just hasn't been released. I don't know if anybody here who works for the Bombers has any idea and enlighten us, but I love this. I love the signing of Jonathan Moxie.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of faith in that Richie Hall and Jordan Younger will coach them up when they get here if they're new guys too, right? Because you mentioned D. Alford. We see him every Sunday or Thursday or whatever it is in the NFL now. It seems like they've owned the whole calendar. But
Alford and Nichols together.
Yeah,
golly.
Amazing, right? The last one that I don't want to forget here is Tim White, because it came at the end of January when the Ticats said, we got 3-4 receivers who had 1,000 yards last year, and they're paying Kenny Lawler a ton of money. Sorry, Tim, but we're going to have to move on. And then I don't know how long he was on the street before Winnipeg jumped on him, but he brings that. You already have Pokey Wilson and Nick Dembski, but that's another kind of home run threat for this team. What do you give me your take on Tim?
5'9", 175. So you can imagine him early in his Hamilton career, Tim and Pappy White were on the same team, and I would kind of get the confused as I was charting out who's who. But you imagine, I think we saw virtually every receiver take one of those little jet sweeps last season, or that little touch pass. Okay, well, Tim White could certainly handle some of that as well as Dembski. So here's multiple options and multiple looks that Tommy Condell could throw at people. When I picture Tim White, I picture him just wide open down the field, stretching the field and moving guys. His problem has been there was a game against the Bombers in Hamilton where he legitimately dropped 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
One he was going to walk into the end zone, and one was right at half. It was in his hands, and then it was coming out of his hands, and then Reddick Cramdy drove a truck into his spine, which didn't obviously help Mr. White make that catch, and was a great moment for Bomber fans at the time. But White can break games. I mean, you don't put up multiple 1,000-yard seasons in the Canadian Football League just as a joke, right? Like, and 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns the year before. As Bomber fans, we would have given significant parts of our body for a guy to have 8 receiving touchdowns last season, right? It was the 7th, whatever it was, best offense in the league.
Yep.
Tim White certainly helps what's rising tide floats all boats. Like, he certainly helps float all boats, let's say.
It's interesting. When he did his media at the end of January, he did a Zoom call with us. He was asked straight out about the drops, and he said it's something he's worked on. I think the numbers dropped down. The number of drops dropped last year. And you don't get 1,000 yards 4 years in a row by accident. He's open a lot, and that says something about his speed, but his route running and all those kind of things. And then the other thing, you mentioned it, if Tommy Condell signs off on it, he's the guy that had him in Hamilton for some of those years, right? So I think I could see him becoming a favorite target too for Zach.
Here's one stat. These are from the CFL. 145 targets, 124 targets, 127 targets, 126 targets. He plays just about every week, which that's a big deal. Best ability, availability. That Hamilton season, that's 9 targets a game? Like, that's fantastic. If he and Zach find it together, okay, well, here's one of those 9 catch for 185 yards and 3 score games from Tim White is entirely possible here.
I like the idea that he's the classic case of get the guy the ball in space and then see what he can do, right? Because if he catches onto it and he's got real estate in front of him with his athletic skills, and this is a guy that was a track star too in college, so there's something there. That's a sneaky good signing too.
Tim White on the corner route.
There you go. You're already practicing that call, are you? Okay, we're going to get to fan questions in a little bit here, but we kind of have to look around some of the things that have happened around the league a little bit here. Maybe I'll pump the brakes on what I just said here. Let's give me 3 names from around the league, because today was a big day in the league, that jump out to you, or what teams really did well in your mind?
So I was able to whittle it down to 6 in free agents I like the most. The first one is CJ Rivas to Ottawa. Rivas, of course, played defensive back for the Riders last season, Grey Cup champion. I think he was the West All-Star dime defensive back the last 2 seasons. But toward the end of the year, he kind of transitioned to safety in Saskatchewan. And when I look at what Ottawa did, they bring in A.J. Allen, so they have a Canadian in there, which gives them, late in the season, they went to American at safety. I go, well, Rivas could be your dime because Adarius Pickett's gone. Rivas could be your safety if you want him to be. Okay, well, there's flexibility. And, A.J., okay. So I really love, and he's a fantastic player. And again, like the Bombers, like they talk about Cramdy and Holm and Nichols being able to play that inside, like that takes smart and talented players. To me, that's CJ Rivas to Ottawa.
Ottawa's been busy too.
Oh, and because they had to be.
Yep.
And what Ottawa ran into last season was ratio problems made them take William Stanback out as their starting running back. And they had to start Daniel Adeboboye and then spell in. With Rivas, Rivas back there with A.J. Allen, you go, okay, well, you don't have those problems anymore. You can do that one. So that's one. I don't know if you want me to hit all 3.
Yeah, let's go.
Number 2, apologies to a Blue Bombers podcast, but former Bomber James Vaughters to Saskatchewan, confirmed today. They're going through what the Bombers went through for 5 years, is when you win the Grey Cup, it's because your players outperform their contracts. They're going to get paid, and other teams are going to vulture down on you and pick your bones pretty clean.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan went, okay, well, these are the guys we have. Malik Carney got, I think, the highest defensive player contract in the CFL to leave. Habakkuk Baldonado, their other end, left as well. So they're, we need a chair because the music's about to stop. James Vaughters, I really liked what he did here last year. Led the team in sacks. And when you heard Willie Jefferson, when he re-signed, talk about Vaughters and what just being a veteran and a smart veteran player can do with, how fields are weird and how to get ready for games on the road. For a team that's going to have to bring in young guys to take the spot of dominant veteran guys, I love the thought. I love their pickup of James Vaughters. And James is a really good dude. So
he's a pro. He's a pro.
Yeah, that he lands in a good spot. Oh, Darius Pickett to Toronto was good. Mac Robustelli to Edmonton are good. But the third one to me would be former Bomber Casey Sayles to BC. BC, as it appears, is set to be the best team in the West. They were number 2 last year to the Riders. But they were going to lose. They had some options in free agency. They locked down Nathan Rourke and their two top receiving targets. On the defense, they were 7th in the league last year. I think it ended up being 26 points a game. But Casey Sayles with Jonah Tavai and, oh, by the way, their defensive ends are pretty good too. One was Defensive Player of the Year. And, oh, by the way, Darnell Sankey's in the middle, and they'll figure out that backer spot. Safety pop for them last season. The corner,
they did a couple things before. Sorry to interrupt. They did a couple things before the window opened, and you mentioned Sayles and Sankey.
Yeah,
they came before the window, and so we forget sometimes that that's part of free agency too.
Yeah,
so
I really like the Casey Sayles move. Probably more. I'd have to go back and check, but it's top of my head. More injury availability than Dwayne Hendricks, who they picked up in free agency a year ago, 2 years ago. It all kind of blends together after a bit. But I really like the thought of Casey Sayles and Tavai being the middle in BC. And Matthew Betts off the edge, whatever else they're going to do on the edge there is, that's
let me
formidable.
throw a couple at you.
Hit me.
The Trey Ford move from Edmonton to Hamilton, and I know a lot of people thought he might go to BC to back up Nathan Rourke. A lot of people, Bomber fans, are wondering why not Winnipeg, because the number 2 spot here is kind of murky right now. But Hamilton seems like a real good fit for him. And obviously that's why he went there. You've got Bo Levi Mitchell that's getting up there, and Trey played his college ball in Waterloo, which isn't too far. So I was really intrigued by that one. What do you make of his new switching the Edmonton colors for Hamilton?
Yeah, so Bo is rock solid number 1 in Hamilton, right? He's had 2 healthy seasons after a long string of not healthy seasons, which to me says Bo's back and he'll play for 5 more years, whatever it was. It feels like their short yardage is going to be Jake Dolegala. So Trey can go and be the legit number 2. There was a point where I just between us, I just became out on Trey Ford entirely.
There's still a fascination with him, but I know where you're going.
Incredible athlete and can make plays, but maybe one of the best sayings I heard about football, and it applies to just about everything. It's not what can you do, but it's how often do you do what you can do. Trey Ford can make just mind-bending plays that'll appear in the top 5 of the season, but those aren't every play, and the other ones seem to be, they're just limited. So I think it's great that he gets a fresh start. It was clear Edmonton was weird, and maybe we talked to Jake Ceresna about that at some point, but Edmonton was weird, and they drafted the kid and then did not seem interested in him at all. I don't even know how I would get through a situation like that. So props to him. Fresh start. Scott Milanovic. They could figure out some stuff for him to do to contribute even as the number 2, much less if he were to have to go in and start. So it's nice for him. I've almost come to the point. I was going to go too far there, but I'm not the biggest Trey Ford guy.
Right. The byproduct of that was Taylor Powell going from Hamilton to Edmonton. So it's almost like they traded backup quarterbacks. That's a guy that still intrigues me, although it seems like forever ago that he was a rising star. You know, Bo, like you said, Bo's put together some good seasons, but that's a guy that still intrigues me as a quarterback in this league. What do you make of what Edmonton did? Because a year ago we would have said Edmonton is the free agency winner, and they had a good haul, but they didn't make the playoffs again.
Yeah.
But they were busy again this year. What's your take on what they did?
I'm of two minds of Edmonton. Three. One was, okay, why didn't you get a bunch of receivers last year? They filled their defense, but then they threw Trey Ford out with you and me at receiver, and I didn't understand what that was about. This year, they've committed to receiver, like to pay Austin Mack.
Yep.
And Joe Robustelli won me a week in CFL Fantasy. I know you kind of play along with us, though you don't play the CFL Fantasy. But Joe Robustelli is an American receiver with upside. And you go, oh, Austin Mack is a guy who's had 1,000 yards in the league. He went away to the NFL, and he had some injury struggles. But Austin Mack can make some plays in this league. So did you just get 2,000-yard receivers to add into what you have there? I think Cody Fajardo will probably like that. The thing with Edmonton I don't get is I haven't seen these deals come official yet, but Brendan Bordner and Jordan Murray, 2 tackles from Hamilton, they'd agreed to deals with, and Coulter Woodmansey.
3 Hamilton linemen.
Yeah. So they have 4 tackles and 5 interior offensive linemen. I'm like, okay, that's great for depth, but I don't understand why you add Jordan Murray and Brendan Bordner to Martez Ivey and Brett Boyko. And as much as Coulter Woodmansey was the all CFL center, that cat had 5 fumbles last year. Like that's, you're a guard now. And you add to Corty, Beard, and Carter O'Donnell, who just came back from the NFL. That guy's not going anywhere. That guy's, Edmonton traded for him years ago for a reason. Like, that's a spot taken. So
you don't like the idea of a 9-man offensive line in a game?
We saw Hamilton and Edmonton start with, Hamilton was tight end, but Edmonton, the game in Edmonton, you remember Trey Ford threw a pick intended for, I think it was Jacob Zott. You're like, oh, right. That's right, because there's an extra offensive lineman who is a fullback wearing number 76. Like, extra offensive lineman is super interesting to me. Yeah. But to me, that's too many cooks in a kitchen, just because I don't know what Ed Hervey's plan is. So
right.
Mark Evans started games for them in the interior. Like, you got 9 guys for 5 spots. I love the competition. I don't know why it appealed particularly to some of these guys, but we'll see when they play the Bombers.
Sam, are we getting some fan questions, or we are? Okay, lots of questions. Let's. I'll get you to answer this question first, and then we'll take some questions from fans, because we've been going for about an hour here, DT.
Oh, have we seriously? Oh man,
it's almost 3. Yeah,
I love talking about CFL.
Oh,
man,
we're just getting.
Where was this in my life between now?
If you're the Blue Bombers, and we've been raving about what they've done so far, is there anything else? You look at the list of pending free agents that's still available. Is there any other area that you think they could spend at, or do you trust the scouting staff to fill whatever need there might be?
I would never argue with more. Javon Santos Knox, I don't know if they needed another American linebacker, right, but I would never argue with more and let the coaches figure it out when camp rolls around. Just as I look, I think set at defensive back, set at linebacker, set on defensive line. As far as free agency, we're American receivers. I would certainly be open to one. Mm-hmm. I don't understand, because I'm not in his ear and I don't live in Hamilton. No one has said anything about Shamar Bridges, and his stats this last year were not any good. Right, when Kenny Lawler came to town, they moved Shamar to the wide side of the field. And then to me, just kind of seemingly forgot about him. But the year before, he was the East nominee for Rookie of the Year. Right. And if he didn't get hurt late in the season, he was going to whip past 1,000 yards. Yep. He's a big-bodied dude. Like, I just don't. I don't know why I haven't heard more about Shamar Bridges. So if anybody 4 offices over is interested, wants to take advice from somebody who doesn't know anything, how about Shamar Bridges? Because there are, at this point, like you mentioned it, everybody got locked down that first day. Jake Ceresna talked about it, like, hey, I was on with 2 teams, but they want to know fast, right? Because they've got plans. Shamar Bridges, as much as he might play Pokey Wilson's spot, you might be able to find a place for a guy like that. I would love more veteran American receiving talent, I think would be the one thing I would say. And then we're talking about the draft for Canadian offensive line talent, because those guys get locked up lightning fast.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Bombers roster right now, and there's, I can see what you mean about. I mean, if Bridges is available, you have to kick the tires on that. But there's a lot of new guys that they've signed too that are on the roster page now. T.J. Davis, Bryce Kurtz, Gerald Monroe, guys that we don't know right now. Dorian Singer, Keyshawn Smith, Kenneth Womack, like
Jamal Bang, yeah.
Somewhere in that group could be, as you mentioned earlier, the next Dalton Schoen or Pokey Wilson. So I understand why they haven't maybe gone after another veteran, especially if you're going to start 3 Canadians, which makes you wonder. But anyway.
Yeah, in which case that's a draft thing, right? You'll have to get
exactly.
that. Breaking news, Tiger Cats sign American wide receiver Carrick Wheatfall.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so Carrick Wheatfall leaving the Bombers to go to the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yeah. I like that. Thanks for jumping in.
It just came up on my emails.
Well done. Okay, Sam, let's wrap this up with questions from fans. We'll take as many as we have here, and DT and I'll try to get to them.
Yeah, great. There's tons of people in chat, lots of great discussion and questions. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Maybe let's start with the O-line. I know you guys talked about this pretty extensively, where Broxton will play, which is likely right tackle. But in your opinion, DT and Ed, where do you think Broxton should play next season?
I would slot him in at right tackle just because you're not going to move Stanley out of the left side. But, as you said, Stanley's getting up there. But I think I've been saying this for 10 years. That Stanley, how many more years are you going to play? So who knows? You can't tell him to stop. He still was the Bombers' top O-lineman. But, boy, I would line Broxton up at right tackle. And then if and when Stanley retires, you just slip him over to the other side. And there you go, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know what you're thinking, DT.
Well, he hasn't played the right side, as far as I can tell, since college, which he's 32. He'll be 32 this season, or he's 32 right now. That's a decade ago. But you wouldn't sign him if you didn't know exactly where he was going. You're not going to give him reportedly $250K if you didn't know exactly where he's going to play. Right side. I don't know that I see a big difference between the importance of left tackles and right tackles in football anymore, because offenses kind of do everything. The highest paid American has been a right tackle for the last couple of years, and now it continues with Broxton, so that's at least 3 years in a row.
Right.
So I think on the right side, and then if Stanley retires before Jarrell Broxton retires, then figure out, hey, Jarrell, do we want to move you? Who would be the guy you get in there? Is that guy left-sided or right-sided? Because for some guys it's flexible, and for some guys it is absolutely not. You are a right-sided or you are left-sided. But if you can do it, cool. And then if you want to go American at guard, Vanderpool, Randolph, Ellsbury, those would be the options. But for me, it would be right tackle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Sticking with the O-line, who do you think, with Chris Kolonkowski leaving, plays center? Is it Tui or someone like Ethan Vibert maybe stepping in that role?
I'll let you start with this one.
I thought it would be Tui Ellie, and then when we talked to Patty Neufeld when he re-signed, he mentioned Tui at center, so I think he also assumes it'll be Tui Ellie. Ethan Vibert to me then can become the 6th, but I thought Tui would have the inside, but Vibert's a guy that is a future center, right? That's kind of where we saw him. So to me, it's Tui 1, and Vibert can be the 6th and the guy who fills in.
I agree with you on that. That's part of why Kolonkowski was let go. It's a little bit intriguing to me that it could possibly be an American spot too. Like if Tui doesn't jump out in training camp, and you could start, your 2 Canadians would be Gabe and Neufeld, and an American jumps out, then that's maybe I don't know if and Vanderpool can snap, but or Randolph. I wonder if you even take a look at those guys at center.
There's a lot of guys that they brought in as American guys who played the interior, and that's a place where Dakota Shepley comes back from the NFL, and God, where did Dakota end up?
Toronto.
Toronto, thank you. $280,000. You go for an interior offensive lineman. You go, I've been waiting for this to go, okay. I think like Philip Norman in BC a few years back was the only American guy I can remember playing center. Hamilton did it for a bit too. But for what on the market is $200,000 or plus, if you could get a guy for 75 to do that, an American, because you have the flexibility at other positions, I'd be in favor of seeing it. I think Tui gets the first crack at it, but
100%.
Going 3, if you want to go 3 Americans, Patty's not going anywhere, unless maybe it's to center, because Patty's played everywhere in his career. Gabe Wallace is a monster, so Maybe that it would certainly be worth looking at, and I think the Bombers have the coaching staff that would figure out what's the right play. But it would be intriguing. Tui's the first option, I think.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on the quarterback room right now? Do you think they might bring in someone else? I know there's a few people signed already, but
I'll jump in on this one first. There's a couple names out there still that people are talking about in McLeod Bethel Thompson. I don't know. You got the breaking news thing going there, DT, if he's signed anywhere. And Caleb Evans, another CFL veteran quarterback.
He's short yardage at this point in his career. MBT's at number 2-ish.
I think I understand that people are curious about who will be the number 2 quarterback here, especially because Zach missed 5 starts and didn't finish a couple other games. I think they really are waiting on Taylor Elgersma to see what happens there. And just for the latest I've heard, it's the same as what we've been saying for a while. He's waiting on the NFL. He's also been drafted in the UFL by the Birmingham, so I'm not sure if he thinks he's got to play 4-down football to get another look in the NFL. That's one they've kind of they're curious about, and they're got their fingers crossed. Let's put it that way. Bryce Perkins is an older guy, 29, who was the UFL MVP last year. That's a name that really jumped out at me when they signed him. And then the other quarterbacks are Chase Artopius is back from last year, Terry Wilson's back, and then Peyton Thorne, who played a little bit at Michigan State and at Auburn, played a lot at those 2 schools and was in Cincinnati's camp last year. I think that they think they've got the answer someone there for number 2. Like, that's a big mystery going into camp. That's maybe the biggest mystery. But I do think they feel they have the pieces there. What's your take, DT?
Perkins is 29, so he's not the usual guy that comes up, right? Like Terry Wilson was young, Chase Artopius young, Drew Brown was young,
Chris Streveler was young.
Everybody was young. So, I think they're set. I don't think they're going to market for anybody, and I think they would. As a Bomber fan, I would hope Bryce Perkins is going to claim that number 2 spot. Terry Wilson could provide, did some good stuff in short yardage. Mm-hmm. He left a Montreal Alouette. When I walked in, as much as it's covered in snow, I still saw the stain of that Montreal Alouettes defensive back he clobbered in week 21.
Yep.
My gosh, that guy took it. Was it Ento? It was rough. Terry really gave it to him. Artopius, there must be a reason Artopius stuck around for a full year. Right. So there's something there. And I think you have to look at it and go, as a fan, my inclination is Bryce Perkins is going to be the number 2 because he comes with a significant amount more experience than a guy fresh out of college who was briefly in a tryout with the NFL's Pittsburgh Steelers or whatever random team.
I'm okay with it because of the kind of the Elgersma is the mystery, too, about this, is whether he comes in. Everybody's intrigued by a Canadian quarterback that's that big and has had a look in the NFL, a lot of looks. So it would be great to get him in camp, and I think it'd be really good for his career to get in camp and learn from Zach Collaros and Tommy Condell. But
it's hard
he's chasing his dream.
Yeah, if you don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win, right?
But back to should they bring in a veteran guy? I'm of the point now, watching this league for as long as I have, and you too, DT, that I would like to see a Perkins or a Thorne or somebody like that, or even an Artopius get a shot in terms of if something terrible was to happen and Zach got hurt. I'd like to see a guy like that, a fresh face, have a turn. Nothing against McLeod Bethel Thompson, but we've seen his best. We've seen what he is, and that really feels like a Band-Aid. I'd like to see a next guy potentially be that number 2.
Yeah, and I think salary cap implications are a certain thing, right? There can be a profound difference between you pay a guy 75 and you pay him 175 in what you could do in other spots, because $100,000 could get you. Yep. These are 75 is a real number, but 175 is just one I made up. $100,000 gets you a heck of an American defensive back. So you have to prioritize and go, okay, well, if you really like Bryce Perkins, you probably feel we'll just figure out number 3 as camp goes along.
Right. Okay, Sam.
I realize this might be tough to answer in February, but do you have an early prediction for your Bomber Rookie of the Year?
I'll let you go because you were the
Cam Allen
guy
Rookie
last year.
of the Year. Absolutely not. No. I can't even. When it gets to camp, we'll have something. But honestly, this is kind of the point where I go, I'll learn what Aaron Smith and Mike Smith are about on at linebacker when camp rolls around. I haven't dug too much into their pasts because I'm trying to think about how this is all going to work and where's Ceresna going to be.
Yeah.
That we'll see it in camp.
That's an interesting question because we don't know who might be getting a chance to get a lot of reps with this team, right? Or a lot of snaps or starts because it's pretty stacked right now. I really like what we saw from Jenkins and Jaworski in the last game. Will they get to play at defensive end on this team? Again, it's going to be about the
rookie
snaps.
of the year, right? Because they both played a game.
Is it?
It's one game, yeah. Isaiah Wooden would have been up for a special teamer, but he played a game.
A guy that they had on their practice roster last year that I know they're high on is Dixon.
Deshaun Dixon.
Deshaun Dixon. But again, where do you
Proud
get the
of the
snaps?
young defensive end, yeah.
I guess. I'll say this. It might be the other corner that we don't know yet who's going to start opposite Moxie. Because if it's a new guy, he's got a chance to play a lot, and maybe he'll be the rookie of the year.
Yeah. I will very loudly, on the first broadcast of the year, go, rookie of the year.
Yeah, he did that last year with Cam
Allen. and then Jake Mayer immediately threw the ball to Cam Allen. I was like, yes, this is amazing. And then, of course, I'm happy to be wrong because Trey Vauvel was bleeping unbelievable.
Yep. Okay.
Awesome. Well, that's pretty much all the questions. So thanks for your time. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Before we leave, though.
Do we have the jersey winner?
No.
Okay.
Not that
You've got
we
that
will
handle?
reach out via email.
Okay.
Ed,
Right.
don't get carried away. But
A Jake
this is,
Ceresna jersey, by the way.
This is Derek's 6th time on the show,
Yes.
right? He's also started each season. He's the first episode of each season. So
Oh, seriously?
I think we
It's
have
time.
to kind of present something. It's the official Huddle Blue Bombers jacket. Is that what we're calling it?
It's just
Anyway.
like the Saturday Night Live. If you
Yeah.
host 5 times, you get a jacket.
right?
Yeah. So
Tina Fey and Steve Martin are here, too?
yeah,
Oh, my God. Really?
yeah.
Look at this.
You have to help them get on with them.
Oh, I guess.
It's
10
just like
times, Sam,
just like the guy when he wins the Masters. You got to help him. There you go. Look at that.
Are these available at the store?
That's well done. Thank you, DT. I think what is this? 6 times you've been on the show? Yeah, 6 times. Or is this the 5th one?
I made the 5-timers joke last time.
Okay.
I don't remember if that was because it was number 4 or number 5.
Okay. All right.
But yeah.
We'll go back into our archives and check it out. Listen, thanks for doing this, DT. As always, we got to have you on again before the season starts, probably to do a more extensive preview when we know more what this team's going to look like. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. If you missed this live, you can watch it on our YouTube page. We'll be putting out the links to this afterwards. Really appreciate Jake Ceresna for jumping in. Crazy day for him. He gets in here yesterday at 5 o'clock or whatever. Got to sign a work permit, meets the head coach, goes out for dinner, doing all this stuff today, shaking 1,000 hands. So appreciate him
Dinner with
jumping in.
O'Shea must be a real bear. Hey,
Yeah.
that would not be any fun at all. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm surprised he got in here to work out after that. Yeah, so when the season starts, we're going to be doing this again every Tuesday in the afternoon with lots of players and people like Derek Taylor who join us. Thanks again, as always, for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and we will let you know when our next show will be. It will probably be after the draft and before rookie camp. We might squeeze another one in there depending on who's in town. So really appreciate Bomber fans for tuning in, and we'll see you again when we see you.